Hey everyone, thank you so very much for joining us in today. We have this exciting panel available with us, teams from Madison, Social Beat. We've not had Karthik. I think he should be joining us in some time. And then we have Alaap as well here with us from Isobar. People from both business teams as well as the creative teams are joining us in. And we'll have contrasting views, some beautiful stories coming in. But before we get on to our questions, we get on to understanding how agencies work, how agencies have evolved. Would love to have a quick round of introduction from all of you. Chintan, if you can maybe start with some introduction about you, your role, and the company you represent.
Sure, Kunal. Thanks for inviting me. Hi, this is Chintan Soni, Vice President, Madison Digital, with almost 16 years of experience. I'm technically born and brought up in digital, so I take care of all tech initiatives in the area of attribution, analytics, data, brand safety, and ad fraud at Madison. Yeah.
Great. Vikas, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Kunal, and wonderful to be here today amongst all of you. I'm Vikas. I'm the co-founder of Social Beat. We're a digital growth partner to many of India's top brands and hyperscaling startups. And again, been in the space for about 15 years and sort of seen this industry grow. But today, really focusing on, and actually one of our top priorities today is really how do you combine data and creativity and bring it all together with technology, right? And I think great to be talking on that topic today.
Great. Welcome. Alap, some
Hi.
intro about you, please.
Yes. Hi. Thanks for having me here. I am the Chief Creative Officer at Taproot Dentsu and also the Chief Creative Officer of Isobar. That's also a Dentsu company. Been in mainline for over, I think, 12, 11 years. Then moved to digital, was heading Web Chutney at some point. Then within the Dentsu network, I've been heading different agencies, concentrating on digital for the past 5.5 years. But where I kind of land into the universe is when this whole bridge about integrated marketing. So what I kind of do is truly integrated, combining ATL and digital and bringing it together is what I do for a living and why I get hired, by the way.
Great. Would love to have more of stories coming from you, Alap. You've seen both sides of the world. Would love to hear your transition as well. How offline agencies are kind of adapting to digital, and more in that. I mean, more about that when we get deeper into the questions. We'll kickstart with the first question, right, which is future gazing, which is about, hey, what's going to happen in the future? You guys have been there for 15 plus years in the advertising industry, and that's by no means a short time, right? You've seen massive transitions happening, budgets shifting from offline to online, and within online, moving from desktop to mobile, right? Would love to hear from each one of you on how do you foresee this shifting gears in the next 5 years, and what are some of the trends that you think will pick up in the next 2 to 5 years? Chintan, if we can start with you.
Sure. So I think if you look at the entire advertising as an industry or ecosystem, it's actually constantly evolving. Every 5 years, we actually see a different trend that is emerging. I mean, we literally started with ATL, then like you said, digital taken over, then within digital mobile, and basically it is constantly evolving. And Basically it has like from the agency side, if you look at it, has actually opened up a lot of gateways. Earlier we most of the agencies, be it a creative agency or a media agency, we used to rely more on commissions or kind of let's say a retainal sort of a revenue stream. But I think with data and analytics coming in, it basically seems like a pretty promising revenue thing. So my personal point of view is that if agencies can invest a lot in tech talent in the area of creative influencer data attribution, I think the future is pretty promising because then you can actually open up multiple revenue streams and strategies over the period of time.
Great. Vikas, what's your view on how things going to shape in the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think definitely it's been exciting to see how the entire ecosystem has evolved and grown. I think two broad pieces that I would want to talk about. Right, one is at the very heart of it, we are all here to tell a story to the consumer, right, and that's never going to change. You're here to tell a story which resonates with them, which brings and capsules what the brand wants to stand for. And while there is going to be a lot of automation, there's going to be a lot of machine learning, there's going to be a lot of AI, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be automated and sort of auto created as well. In fact, we've seen even content being auto generated with many of the new engines that are there. So there will be a lot of that, but telling a great story is still going to be at the heart of it, right? And which is why, while we have a lot of teams that are looking at data analytics, building some of those ML engines, but we haven't really scaled down our creative hiring because we are at the heart of it, creative storytellers. So I think that's definitely a piece that we see still being important, while there's still going to be a bunch of automation. The second part of that is we're also seeing brands evolve to a maturity level where they don't want to tell a story or just have a creative output which just is cool or viral, but actually delivers business outcomes. And that really means that today agencies are evolving to not just being creative partners or digital partners, and that's why we really believe we have to be a growth partner to the brand and the company, because you have to help them grow their business, grow their brand awareness. You need to help them build their share of wallet with the consumer, and that means you need to be able to really create something impactful which actually you can measure and show as well. And that's really where we see a lot of these moving in the next 3 4 5 years. But a lot of that is definitely going to be exciting because there are so many unknowns that we still don't know about.
Right. Alap, I mean, just picking up some cues from what Vikas shared, and you've literally seen the ATL side and the digital side, and both are like very contrasting, right? How has been the transition for you from offline to online, and where do you see this transition moving on to in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I think I would. So there's a very interesting point that Vikas actually made, which is that at the end of it, we are all storytellers. I think that's a very beautiful way of putting it. Also, at the end of it, it is the idea. So I get asked this question a lot, and I would just build upon that one point that in the end, it's all about an idea. When you say that ATL, and I get this question a lot because since I made the transition, right? We used to do an outdoor ad, we used to do a tvc, we used to do a radio. Now there are just 3 4 5 more mediums to put your idea in, right? Doesn't mean that the medium becomes an idea. I feel that the more we get with different mediums, today there is a stories on LinkedIn, for example, right? So I will do an idea on that. Or if there is a new feature that's being introduced in Instagram, I would do an idea on that. But in the end, we are all doing ideas. We are all storytellers. We are all talking about a story that goes in different forms. So this is what I keep telling the teams also, that it's not that digital is an alien monster. It's just 5 new mediums that you need to understand better, understand their limitations, understand their explorations, and apply your idea wherever it fits best. There will be some beautiful idea that will still be a tvc, and if you make it into a digital thing, it doesn't work that well. Let's look at idea first, is the first thing where at least the transition that you're referring to I kind of keep. Right, the second thing is that it's an ever evolving medium. Okay, it just keeps, there is some new feature always coming in, and that is what we have to keep up with. So that is the biggest challenge right now, because Instagram, Facebook, or the AI machinery, metaverse, everyone is in a rat race, right? They want to become better by providing something new that attracts everyone. If their business model is based on something new, our business model is based on their business models, right? So it's a connected circle. The sooner they evolve is the sooner we have to keep up with the evolution and stay relevant. So that is also going to be one strong caveat. And the third one is, which I keep blabbering all the time in all the forums I talk, is that innovation is where the next level is. How can we innovate? And India as a country doesn't have the patience or the revenue investments to innovate, because R&D needs money and time, right? We are in too much of a hurry, and we have too little money every time we are doing something marketing, right? So I think going forward, the industry will realize the value of innovation, add money to their budgets, keeping only R&D in mind, and also give it the time. Let's work on a campaign for 1 year and release it once. No, why do we need to work on it in a month and release it in whatever way it comes out, right? So I think these are the three big trends that I feel that are going to happen.
Great. Well, you spoke about evolution, and that's obviously evolution of tech is where a lot of us find value in, uh, you know, promoting businesses or supporting the businesses that we work with, right? And over the last 5 years or so, technology, especially around automation, machine learning, AI, has kicked in. But still, when I speak to customers, prospects, some points that come up regularly is the fact that you know the whole collaboration between agencies and the vendor and the customer is somewhat a bit of a bottleneck for everyone to solve, right? And that's where a lot of time is lost, a lot of delays happen, which, and we know that delays cost money, right? The sooner you launch your campaigns, the sooner you'll acquire customers, faster the revenues realize. Um, Over the 5 years, specific to your own companies or the companies that you may have worked in past, what are some of the technologies that you've adopted to cut down this turnaround time? Technologies which have helped you be faster, be quicker in delivering your messages to the audience. Chintan.
Yeah, I can actually go, Kunal, here. So I can actually definitely give you a perspective from the media side specifically. And I'm a big believer of technology and the way it is actually changing the marketing functions. Right from planning to reporting to analysis, there is tech involved in every stage. And if I just want to give you perspective, we are completely moving now from a manual Excel based planning to more cloud based solution, which actually saves considerable time of a planner almost. And when we actually did some sort of a analysis, it actually saves somewhere around 35 to 40% of planners time in basically putting a lot of line items, getting the approvals from client, and like you said, and the faster actually campaign goes live. And even in the process of optimization, specifically in the media campaign, optimization is a very very important lever. We'll use a lot of advanced attribution technologies which reduces human effort considerably, because it's practically impossible for human to do any manual optimization where you have to look at more than 200 parameter to take a decision. Like in digital, you get multiple such parameters. What time of the day consumer converts, let's say what day of the week it converts, what basically platform works, what targeting work, what audience works, and everything. So there are a lot of AI models we have built on the back of tensor or neural networks to do some deep optimization. So it's actually how you use. I mean, you have to, as a owner of the agency or the a leader who is actually driving, you have to decide that what work or the what function can be done best with AI, and what work can be done best with humans in the process.
Right, Chintan, I have a question for you there. Like, I still hear from customers that planning is the most critical aspect. That's where majority of the time is lost. I understand,
Yes.
the programmatic bidding and RTP, everything, and then there are your automated dashboards, etc., which get populated, get sent to customers. All that piece is very much resolved now. But specific to planning and collaboration between, when the campaign is not yet launched, it's still in the idea stage. Are there specific tools that you're using to cut down the TAT?
Yeah, so in fact, we use a lot of tools and platforms to drive some sort of initial signals, what we call it. Like for example, if I want to decide saying that I'm launching a campaign, but I'm not sure which markets to go after because I'm doing the ATL, but I don't know what should be my distribution strategy, or where should I do my pressure test. So we actually use some sort of intent data to identify from where the intent is coming most, and then we use those signals to do a pressure testing. So it's how you actually use these signals to to fulfill which task of the campaign life cycle.
Okay. Because as a owner of a business, right? where do you specifically ask your teams to focus on? What specific bottlenecks with technology does your team try to resolve for your customers?
Yeah, there's a ton of it, Kunal, and I think the more we keep planning every year, it almost looks like we're a technology company, also doing marketing, right? And I think it's heading in that direction because a lot of things need a strong layer of tech or data to really make it impactful. And the way we've looked at it is we've put into a bunch of different verticals within to optimize. One is just internal efficiencies, right? Being able to do things which are either repetitive or manual or not requires any strategic thinking. Those are just manual processes that you just want to automate, and some of that is just RPAs and just bringing in those APIs and making that happen. And that's something we've actually almost done, and there's not much of that left, but that was the first piece we started with. The second piece we started looking at was, are there things that can help us personalize at scale? And that's where we started looking at some of those tools which both look at creative optimization, the marketing automation part of it, looking at how do you do retention and personalization for customer retention at scale. And that's a bunch of things we started looking at, the personalization, because that's how you can marry what you're doing on the creative and the idea with personalized impact at the end. And the third piece, which we've really looked at, is the entire data analytics piece, where we looked at we're creating so much data for our brands, and also the data that we create at our end, that there is a lot of need to actually first synthesize and clear that data up to make it meaningful, and then bring out something that's going to be actionable at either the brand's end or at our end, right? So the data and sort of entire piece is also very, very important. But of course, we have different products on the influencer marketing side, for example. So the technology today is across pretty much every layer of what we do. But depending on which team it is and where you need to create that impact, we look at it from one of these levers. Is it improving efficiencies? Is it helping me personalize better? Or is it helping me use data analytics in a way to create better impact for my brands? And that's the kind of split that we kind of really look at.
Got it. Great. Thanks, Vikas, for your views on that. Alap, the job that a creative person has is absolutely the most critical to taking a campaign live, right? Google will not let you take a campaign live if you just don't upload a creative to it. But unfortunately, that's also the piece which requires a lot of manual efforts, right? Um, and at times, it's also dependent upon individual efforts. Somebody could be faster, somebody could be slower at coming up with a creative. Depends upon complexity of the creative or the hand that's working on it. Where does technology come into the creative play, and has it changed over the last few years?
So so technology has, I feel that the tools that we use have kind of made the creative sharper. Let me put it like that. That before all so we use a lot of tools for automation, we use a lot of tools for social listening. There is a data science lab that Dentsu has that develops a lot of tools which gives you insights on if I want to talk about black coffee, what is the word cloud around it? It taps into different platforms. So what all these tools have done is made the creative sharper. Now I come from an age where we used to hire different profile people for different accounts, right? So for example, this is an English speaking account, okay? Like how we very commonly say that ये English medium account hai, let's get someone who is very good at it, has a different understanding on it. What what the different tools have done is have democratized accuracy across different creatives, because now even if that person doesn't belong to a certain background which the client is asking for, they can still be equipped with tools that the creative can use to sharpen their thinking and sharpen the delivery. So I think that's what has kind of had the biggest impact. We've gotten sharper, more efficient, more relatable, hence everything goes to a bigger number.
Great. I'm assuming this is a project that Abhinay Bhasin's been leading, right? The Dentsu Marketing Cloud.
Abhinav leads that unit. Yes.
Yeah. Great. Cool. My favorite question of this whole discussion, right? Creatives, the third point that we have to discuss today. We live and breathe creatives here at Rocketeer. And I'm not sure if you guys saw my profile on LinkedIn. I actually started my career with JWT. So from a creative firm to a digital to a SaaS firm, the shift's been tremendous. But something that's been consistent has been the creatives that angle has always been there in whatever roles I've been associated in. Um, and the more I sell SaaS, the more I sell automation. The feeling that I personally get working with companies and people is that, hey, is the creative still relevant to people, right? Or is the focus more towards the audience? Is the focus more towards the bid? And somewhere the creative is losing the effect that it had, the charm that it had. I still remember the brand stories that I used to see on television, the initial few set of creatives that I saw from something like an Info Edge, who was, uh, or Matrimony. They were the first few advertisers on digital way back in 2005, 2008. I still remember those brand stories, but today we don't remember those creatives. Somewhere, do you think are creatives still relevant? And what do you think will be the role of creative? How do you think creatives will kind of shape up in the next few years to help customers relay their story and grow their business? Chintan, more from you because I mean, you're a guy who's selling more of data. How do you marry creatives into
Yeah.
your data?
So, Kunal, basically, creative. I've been a big believer of this particular thing, that creative actually has the highest weightage in deciding the overall campaign performance. And there is an interesting study by Nielsen. If you look at, so what they do is that they break the entire sales lift between creative, brand, and media. And specifically, when I am actually on the agency side, we put a lot of weightage in, what should be my targeting, how should be my bidding strategies, what should be my day parting strategies, etc., etc. But we often do not give that much importance to creative. But what I've seen is that if you basically break down the entire sales lift into creative, brand, and media, it actually has creative has about 50% weightage in driving the overall performance. And digital is right now so dynamic medium that you don't need to invest very heavily. You can do a like a very good A/B testing with a small set of budget, and actually immediately know the results, that what is working, and you keep refining this process until you find that sweet spot. So I think if you use the available technology, be it a split test, A/B test, or multivariate testing, and if you use your creative strategies along with this technology, I think it can bring really powerful results. And I'll just give you a very very fine example. So Google, when you upload a creative in Google Console, it actually gives you something called a strength of the creative. Like, it gives you the score. So it ranges from poor to excellent. And what I've seen is that when you in the same audience targeting, if you load a creative with a poor score versus if you load a creative with excellent score, the excellent creative or the set of creative will get 3x higher CTR. Okay. And all you have to do is just make sure that whatever Google suggests, you keep have to fulfill that requirement, be it in terms of the number of description it needs, be it in number of images or the logos it needs, and so on and so forth. So I think my personal point of view is that it actually has a lot of weightage in deciding in deciding your overall marketing
Do you
performance.
have any stories around, or maybe a case study about some customer where you actually got double the lift just because you refreshed the creatives more or did some more additional A/B testing?
Yeah, in fact, we do this very regularly, Kunal. We look at some of the lead indicators. We decide before any campaign goes live, saying that what should be our lead indicator. If it's a video creative, let's say it's a VDR that we look into it. If it's, let's say, static creative, we look at what is the interaction rate that is going. And the moment, for example, it goes down over the period of time, we refresh the creative, and next day we actually see the jump again in the interaction rate. So that's it's a continuous process that we take into consideration in optimizing the campaign performance.
Great. Because you also run an influencer product, right? And influencers bring in tons of creativity. How do you marry that with a brand narrative? And where do you see the whole creative kind of lying in the whole campaign strategy?
Yeah, I think we were touching upon it a bit earlier as well, Kunal. Yeah, I think it's at the center of it, right? It's at the heart of it, and in many ways, you build the brand, you build the campaign, and even the outcomes from those campaigns and what you're doing. Even if it's an always-on campaign, right? You creative is really at the heart of it. But I think what we've learned over time is that yes, you need a great story to tell. You need that idea that even Alap was talking about. That's at the center of it. But you also need to find ways to do things on the creative front, which will help you drive the business outcomes as well. You need to do different things which can help drive, top of mind awareness, different things when you want to drive sales and lead gen, or even you want to drive app installs. So maybe you need a slightly different approach to the creative for those, but you still need to keep the common thread between all of this, right? Because you can't have your brand campaign or your top of mind awareness campaign saying something, whereas your bottom of the funnel campaign saying something completely different, right? So while the creative approach might be different for the bottom of the funnel, but we try and marry the common thread or whatever the central thought you want to say, or even the look and feel and the aesthetics of the brand need to follow through all the way. And that's often where we see the brands failing, because they have a separate team typically working on the brand pieces and the top of the mind pieces, and someone else is doing something on digital and even otherwise on print, which is the different it looks like two different brands. And I think often that's really where we try and marry both the approach of having a great idea and then having a complete approach across different parts of the funnel to marry that thought. And that's also where sometimes the folks that really want to have one single idea out there, we often say, yes, have a central idea, but have different variations of it, because you then want to go and test out what's really working for the brand. And that's something that even the creative teams have over time evolved to accept and work toward, because 3-4 years back they wouldn't accept that, because that's one idea, this is the main creative, go and do it, right? But I think that has also evolved over a period of time.
Because any stories about some influencer campaign that went viral, went like it just achieved like a crazy scale?
Yeah, a ton of it. So, one brand where we've done extensive work on the creative front and even on the influencer marketing front is actually Tata Click. And what we realized over there is actually, the sheer power of the creativity of 20, 30, 40 creators coming together in a single campaign, that beats even what we would do as a creative team, right? Because there are 40 different teams out there bringing that idea alive. And often that's really what works, right? So one of the campaigns we did with them was really to look at you made it click, which is you as an individual, you made it click. It was about how the office missed you back rather than you missing the office. This was done at the peak of the lockdown, actually. And what we realized was that we had a brand campaign, we had what we did, but when you put in the influencer creatives, you actually saw almost a 2.5x better outcome, both in terms of engagement as well as people eventually remembering the band from the brand lift study, right? So I think there's a lot that you can do by combining both the volume as well as sheer creativity of those creators, which often you cannot match even as a large agency.
Yeah. And I think that the whole influencer business is purely relying on the fact that creativity is now democratized and everyone has their own way of portraying what is creative. And it's great to see brands also kind of accepting that. Earlier, which was looked down upon as like, hey, this is not on brand, is now being given a totally different angle to it. Okay, and that's actually the power of technology, the social media. That's what they're bringing in. Alap, Hari, this is your question, right? Are creatives relevant? How much how much creativity has come into the digital creatives? Do you see any difference between offline and online? Or do you think, with more tech, it's becoming the creators are becoming more transactional in nature?
So okay, so the best way to put this is that so we've all seen Captain Planet when we were kids, right? It's every campaign, every successful campaign is actually Captain Planet, and it's all these powers combined and stuff like that, right? So that is exactly what a campaign is, right? Without any of them, this will not make a good, it will not make a Captain Planet if any of them are not there, right? We need tech, we need platforms, we need accuracy. And any client that asks you for a successful campaign, they are judging you on all these parameters. And creativity is across, it's not optional to have it here and there and not have, like how you were saying that how can we make different versions of, how Vikas was saying, how can we make different versions of it across the funnel and still have a one singular focus, right? That is the Captain Planet, that is the superhero that we'll always need, right? And the biggest thing there is creativity. It can't be taken out, because if you're looking at it at such a huge extension, just having an idea that doesn't extend is a problem. Not having an idea is also a problem, right? So you have to have something which is creative, can be translated across the levels, and still get your campaign across. So that is where we are operating right now. I think that we are adapting to it. We have not gotten there because we still struggle with यहाँ पे अरे कभी performance पे नहीं चलता है, कभी TVC पे नहीं चलता है. We are getting there, but that is the future of it. You can't remove creativity to it, because a large part of the creativity is also in understanding the different mediums and making sure that it applies everywhere. We can see the client will take an entire report, say कि I put in 500 crores, how much have I gotten back from it, what is the ROI on it, right? Or what is the response to it, right? What is the brand recall to it? Any of the ATL, digital performance, any of the functions doing it solely will not achieve what all of us together can achieve. And that is also where creativity comes in, because only that is the binding factor between all of us, right? So different forms of creativity, yes, but
Yeah.
can't unavoidable. I don't think it's ever going out of fashion.
Great. I hope to hear that, and I totally believe in that. But I think the last question is again, Alap, I'd like to pick up the fourth question on analytics, right? And see how does analytics tie back into creators. We typically have campaigns. Campaigns have their own measurements. How many impressions, clicks, CTRs, conversions have happened. As a person leading the creative team, the creative mandate, do you also get into analytics to help you design better, to get an understanding of why creatives work, why they did not work, and are you now quantifying your wins and your losses around creatives?
Yes, yes, I we are. So it becomes a, so okay, let me be honest about this. It becomes a little bit of a restriction and slightly annoying sometimes, because because there is a lot of do's and don'ts. But the bigger factor in there is the client is asking for results, investment versus results, right? And okay, so there are two ways that we approach it, and I've approached it both ways, and I'll tell you the one where I learned it through the hard way, right? We approached a client with something. There was something which A/B testing was not pointing to. Okay, we felt that the other one is better, and that wasn't doing well in A/B testing. Say for example, A was doing better, B is what we felt would do better. Correct. We went ahead with that. B collapsed. ROI didn't happen. In whatever CTR, everything did happen. The budget got slashed to half. Now the next time we have lesser money to play with. अब जो चल रहा था वो भी नहीं is working, right? So now we have to go with one. We have to forcibly go with A/B testing and ka winner, and also not explore creative so much because you've burnt our hands the last time. So clients also become cautious, right? Now it becomes slightly difficult to adapt every creative to what works for A/B test. Things like A/B testing, it does become difficult, but over time I've realized that that is also the more efficient way to do it. Now the mirror opposite of this would be that if the client put in money, and if everything, like say for example on A/B testing, is doing well, and they get more returns than they did, they would probably double the budget next time, right? And that is the path where we've kind of started working with. The accuracy, the efficiency increases with all this. I think fighting it is like swimming upstream. You're going to be fighting the current, you're not going with the current. I would rather go with the current and go into the sea than fight the stream upstream, right? So that's where I am on that, at least.
Right. See, because as a business leader, and your agency, your business's differentiator is also that you're more new age company, right? Playing playing more with technology, using more of that. So beyond the regular tech, the regular reports that you see, are you creating any technology which helps you get more insights around creatives, so that that becomes like a hook for you to attract your customers?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I echo what Alaap is saying, right? And in fact, we discussed internally that actually, if you make an amazing creative and an amazing story, actually you end up spending less money to get the same outcome, right? So actually, in some ways, it's like great creative means better ROI, and hence actually less media. But that's fine. But that's how it actually needs to be, right? What we have actually realized over time is that all the platforms are eventually going to automate many things, and which means we need to be able to analyze creative not just at a level of saying "Ki creative A B C D hai, which one work better," but actually go one level deeper as well, right? And we call it internally creative themes. So we start with actually saying which creative themes are working better for us, and typically for any client you'll start off with 5 6 themes, and over a period of time, in fact, even test out 20 25 30 themes as well, and then figure out which of these levers are actually working better for us. Then the second layer actually comes into looking at, okay, now you know which themes are working. Now can we look at what kind of different copies, what kind of different creative representations of that copy and the message can actually lead to better outcomes. And we've done this for many of our e-commerce clients, in fact, where we've really gone deeper into figuring out the themes and then going deeper into the copy, message, the creative representation. A lot of this is not available on the platform, right? Google and Facebook only say ki ye creative tha, ye hua. So what we've realized is you need to actually start with the nomenclature of how you name your ads on these platforms, so you can actually then take that out and analyze it. So now we have built our own tool to be able to look at some of this, both in terms of creative theme analysis and the rest of it from there on. But that's definitely been one of the key reasons for being able to analyze this better, because audiences are already gone. And for many of our app clients and also for our e-commerce clients, the audiences are relatively not in your control, right? You're going after lookalikes, you're going after app audiences where there's no audience at all, right? So then you have to be having a very strong creative approach and the analysis to back that approach to refine this over a period of time.
Great. I'd love to, maybe catch up with you separately and see what this tool of yours powers. It's, just being able to understand the impact of a copy or the format is so strong. And I think that's where the magic happens, right? And we typically fail to understand that consumer at the end of the day is only going to look at the creative for just 2 seconds. That's a viewable impression. Uh, and he doesn't care what's the data behind it, right? Whether he owns a Mercedes, you're tagging him as somebody living in Delhi.
Right.
He just sees the creative. So I really want to talk to you again and understand that tool of yours. So much excited about it. But Chintan, where does creative evaluation come into your whole story with your customers? How frequently are you evaluating customers? What are these nuances in a creative that you're looking at when you're refining these creatives on the fly?
So I'll give you a little different perspective, Kunal. Here, when we look at if you look at Madison, all the clients that we handle are like integrated client, where we don't just handle their digital mandate, but we also handle their offline mandate, which is TV, print, radio, outdoor, etc. And we use actually creative very effectively. So what we do is that whenever we have certain doubts, or when we are unsure about that which set of creative would work, we actually do a very good A/B testing on digital. and we find out saying that right from impression to conversion, which creative is actually driving better ROI. We use that creative in actually our print ad, and that's where we get the like maximum number of calls. So we handle a lot of, let's say, property client. We look at saying that whether amenities, whether location, whether price, what actually drives the final ROI, and then accordingly we actually design the offline creatives. And whenever we do this combination or a sync between online and offline, we see the best ROI coming into the campaign. So that's how we actually use a creative effectively. Yeah.
Great. I mean, I think that's like a totally different view of how to integrate multiple medias and look at creative across the spectrum rather than just for individual channels. Uh, yeah,
Correct.
that just opens up more.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, Kunal, if you've spoken about analytics, like while and in the campaign life cycle, analytics is an important thing, not just from the campaign efficacy point of view, but also in deciding, how should be your other part of the entire marketing thing should shape up. Like for example, distribution, and I'll give you one example of how we have used analytics. So we were launching one hair fall brand in in India, and we started actually entire operations with D2C. We used analytics to find things that from where we are getting the maximum numbers of orders, and we realized that using analytics we could discover that the maximum number of orders are coming from the landlocked areas where there is a hard water issue or something like that. And we actually plowed the entire distribution strategies on in those areas, and we saw sales jumping up straight away. So instead of doing some sort of
Yeah,
guesswork, we use analytics in multiple other aspects. It actually really works.
great. I mean, that's a brilliant usage of analytics to get a business outcome.
Yeah, 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 real business
Great.
outcome. Yeah.
Cool. I mean, thanks, Chintan, Vikas, Alaap, for sharing your understanding about how the businesses have shaped up and how creatives are working and how you guys use analytics in your own businesses. It's been pretty insightful for all of us here. Um, if you guys have any questions for yourself, I mean, feel free to maybe, uh, dabble in conversations here. We still have, say, another 5, 7 minutes available for us if you want to cross question each other.
Yeah, I mean, Alap, it would be great to hear from you. I think one of the things we've been trying to show our creative teams is how do you even decipher the data that's being shown to you, right? And even understanding how many of these ecosystems work. And of course, we are more in the digital side, but have your creative team started understanding how to analyze whether a campaign is done well or not, and the digital metrics around that? I think that's one piece that we sort of working on, I would say.
So that's an interesting question, but so they've not yet cracked it. Okay. And like you, I also struggle. But what I have understood is that planners are good with data and driving insights. So we have an entire planning department. So what we also do is get them to translate the data in a creative way.
Sure.
So they will handhold till creatives are mature enough to handle big data and stuff like that, and or at least get trends out of it. So planners look at world trends and anyways get out data. We just use them to make sense of whatever was happening in the previous campaign, and that's worked. That's worked.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the planners are cribbing. Yeah.
Cool.
I think Chintan using it for offline things. I'm just curious if, say, for example, amenity A gets more hits versus amenity B, is the client also accepting those preferences?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I mean, it actually helps us deciding, which amenities and also the price point. For example, sometimes when we don't reveal the price and we just reveal the location and the project amenities, it actually gets a better response in terms of, because people
Yes.
are curious to know about that property, right? I mean, so that's how we actually use. I mean, ideal case, you disclose the price upfront, saying that 2 BHK starting at 2 crore. But if you disclose that, you don't actually get. And then the beauty of this entire marketing funnel is that you need to generate leads out of it, right? The once the lead is generated, the sales guys are like powerful enough to convert that lead into a booking, right? I mean, they keep chasing that customer with multiple offers, etc., etc. So the end objective is actually to get the contact detail of people who are actually in market to buy a property. That's it. That's the job of digital.
Yeah.
So amenities over here is your creative hook to engage people and to submit the leads, right? And you want to dissuade them from the pricing factor.
Yeah. Of course, definitely. I mean, and I mean, depends also on the which locality you're launching the project. Let's say if I'm a launching project in Chembur, which is like a RK studio, for example, Godrej Properties has launched a pretty premium property. There, you just need to talk about the area, the location, and everything. But if I'm launching a project which is for more of a NCCS B and C sort of a audience, that's where you need to communicate more pricing related, sir. So it's also depend on the kind of audience that you are targeting and the kind of project that it is priced at.
Right. Cool.